Oh, what about emotions? I didn't even know when I was going through the process of healing, I didn't even know that I had body sensations. I was outside of my body continually, but I knew I had emotions. Emotions many times are the first things that people will be able to recognize. And emotions, that's their purpose. It's a messenger service for us. So the core belief is underneath the emotion, and it sparks that negative emotion that then sparks the thoughts in the present moment about anything that goes back and pings the core wound that's buried in the subconscious mind. So we're dealing with perception here. We're dealing with a narrow field of vision and survival strategies. And the emotions are many times the first thing that we'll recognize. We're programmed at a very early age by society, family systems, religious traditions, that emotions are to be judged as good or bad, positive or negative. However, emotions are just the messenger service. And I remember it with the E, emotion. Emotions are energy in motion. It's something that comes in to get a message to us, and then it's supposed to flow out. So I often give the example of like an antelope that's being chased down by a lion. So the antelope's running, the lion comes and he grips onto the antelope, to the back end of it, but then the antelope gets away. So Peter Levine did a lot of work with somatic experiencing, which is understanding how trauma gets trapped in the body and how we can release it. He's the one who used this analogy of the antelope and the lion. He said, watch what the antelope does. It doesn't make meaning about being attacked. It gets away as fast as it can. And then when it gets to a safe place, it shakes. Its whole body shakes, clear to its little tail. Shakes that energy out because it's no longer needed. Humans don't do that. If we're shaking, our whole body's shaking, we suppress it because we're meaning-making machines, and there are fears of what we will do. There's fears of us acting out in anger and doing something, really harsh. There's other fears of showing emotions, because even look at a 2-year-old, terrible twos, toddler, has tantrums because the emotion is overwhelming and they don't yet have the words to even describe what is going on, and they don't have the logical reasoning mind to describe what's going on. So they're just frustrated. They're just having a tantrum, and then they're punished for it. So that's going to suppress right there. Anger is bad. You're not supposed to have anger. So it's going to get shoved down into the subconscious, into the inner system. So we're meaning-making machines who have brains that try to prevent future pain from happening. So those emotions get blocked down into the body. So it's like we had this negative emotion, this overwhelming emotion. We have this core belief, then the brain says, how do we avoid that at all costs in the future? So let's have a survival strategy, and let's look in perception to try to make sure we avoid that pain. And that's how triggers get formed. A trigger is just anything that pings a negative core belief in the subconscious that the brain is trying to suppress. It doesn't want you to know that it's there. It wants it to stay suppressed. But a trigger is anything that looks like that past pain that's happening in the present moment. So it's going to ping that survival strategy. And then depends on what inner part takes over as to what survival strategy plays out. Could be avoidance, could be distraction, could be addiction, could be rage. Those are all survival strategies trying to get that emotion back down into the inner system. So as we begin to use emotions as a messenger service, that will provide us with important data. We can shift into more of an observer role and be with the emotion rather than in it. Rather than all consumed with the emotion, we have the ability, and this takes time and practice, be gracious and patient with yourself. But we have the ability to take notice when we're feeling an overwhelming emotion in the present moment and become the observer of it. And I give the example of even putting it up like on a movie screen, like your confidence visualization, where you put it up on a movie screen and you can see it. Last week, we learned pause for the cause. When you are triggered in the present moment and you feel that emotional overwhelm coming up, and you take a pause for the cause, you get out of the situation so that you can then become the observer of the emotion. And the differentiation between the word with and the word in is huge. When we start to learn how to become the observer and observe the emotion and what it's trying to tell us as a messenger service, we can be with that emotion. Hi, sadness. Hi, anger. What do you want me to know? Like talking to it. What do you want me to know? Rather than, in it. The sadness takes over. The anger takes over. The pain, Brené Brown says, the pain either is already in us. We either deal with it being in us, inside of us, or we vomit it out to other people. So the Watch Party series with Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart, where she describes emotions and gives the vocabulary, the terms for the emotions, is going to start in this week. So I'm going to start uploading those, and that's going to give you more to work with in understanding what emotions you're seeing as you become that observer. Okay. I'm going to pause right there for questions now too. Anybody have any questions on that? On the emotions, the messenger service? And I cannot see if anybody wants to raise their hand, they can raise their hand too. In the bar on the bottom of your screen, you can raise your hand. So we have core beliefs underneath emotions that are underneath thoughts. I used to think that the thought came first. It doesn't. Underneath the thought is the emotion. Underneath the emotion is the core belief. So here comes the power of memory. We may not have access to all memories, but there are some memories we hold that have negative emotional charge that cause that negative emotional surge to come up in our systems. So there's a technique that we can use in the subconscious mind, and it's called memory reconsolidation. And what this does is it calls up the memory that has the emotional surge. It puts a pause button on it. And I'm going to have you go then and listen to the confidence audio that you've been listening to all week, which your subconscious already knows. It probably even already knows each word coming next if you've been listening to it every day this past week. And then that's going to put you in the present tense state of mind to then re-examine the memory in present tense true reality. And what this is going to do is bring, what's the word for it? It's bringing the memory into the present moment, because the subconscious mind doesn't have time. Remember, the subconscious mind doesn't know that that memory is not actually happening in the present moment. So whenever we bring the memory up, then listen to the confidence visualization that your subconscious already knows by heart, and then revisit the memory in the present day life, it's going to reconstruct the memory in the subconscious mind to let it know the body is safe. Oh, okay. So we don't have to reenact any survival strategy when that memory comes up or when that memory is pinged now, because we're going to restructure it in the subconscious mind.